Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming. Ladies and gentlemen, this is our 2021 first CLI Club meeting. 15 months ago, since we had our last meeting, the world has changed, as everybody knows here. I want to thank everybody for coming. We're going to get on with our club opening. One quick question. How many in the audience is this your first time here? To me, that looks like 60%. That's great. So this will be new to most. That means we've got 40% who have been here before. Real quickly, I'm going to be speaking also on behalf of my partner, Dr. Raghu Patlola, who just called me from the emergency room. He's doing a heart attack case. Hopefully he's going to be able to save that patient and be with us soon. Guys, this is our club logo, and we're going to go into some about the club. Real quickly, though, before we do, I want to thank everybody for coming, and I want to make a quick community announcement, because this is all about the community. We have visiting on Sunday a Heisman Trophy winner, a two-time national champion, and his wife. Any idea who that is? That's Tim Tebow and his wife, Demi Lee. They will be visiting. They'll be spending Sunday at Our Savior's Church. And they've been there before. I've met him before. So for all sports and Christian fans, know that that's happening in our community. With that said, I'm going to get us going by asking my pastor, Pastor Jacob Aranza, to say our invocation, to say our blessings, to get us started. He's been at most of these events. Pastor Jacob Aranza.
Aren't you grateful we're beyond COVID? Well, let me say it one more time. How many of you have children? Come on, you have to claim them. They have your last name. Okay, some of you are seated here. I have 6 children. And there is a general rule if you have children that a 20-year age span, there's always somebody that wants something. How many of you have ever had a child that wants something? Okay? And it begins with, hey, Dad. Then it's, hey, did you? Then it's, hey, everybody, hey, Daddy, all my friends have. Daddy, if you could. And then by the time you get to it, I mean, it escalates to a degree where the reality is you're not buying them something, you're buying peace for yourself. And here's what I say to my children when I finally give them what they've asked for. Your level of gratitude should match the level of the ask. And if the ask was please, 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 but when Daddy gives it to you, it can't be, oh, thank you. And I believe this is how God feels. For 15 months, we have prayed that God would help us come out of the worst pandemic in over 100 years. Many of us here have lost loved ones, friends, acquaintances, and people that we're dear to. Today, we're not completely over it all, but by the grace of God, there is a vaccine, a number of them. People are getting healthier, and as a nation, for the first time, we've recovered to bring people back together and to resume some element of life as normal. And for that, we should thank God, and the level of our gratitude should match the level of our ask. So, Father, today, in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, we thank you. We thank you. We don't want to be like our ungrateful children when they can be so ungrateful, where we ask and ask and ask and ask and ask. And then when you answer, we just say thank you. There are people here, all of us, that have lost friends, loved ones, and acquaintances. We've seen an insufferable suffering stretch across our nation and across our world that has affected us in every realm of life. Today, we thank you that you have lifted this burden, that you are breaking the plague of the COVID virus across our nation. We thank you for the doctors that have created medications. We thank you for the safe practices that have been implemented by many who've gone to enormous care to mask people and to care for people and to educate people. And so today, we stand as grateful children, for your word says, unless you come as a child, you cannot inherit the kingdom of God. We ask and thank you as humble children Thank you, Father. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Holy Spirit, for sparing us and preserving us. And now we think of those that have suffered and those that have even lost, that are now in your arms. We thank you and we treasure their memories and their care. And we thank you for your faithfulness to each of us that are here today. In your precious name, Jesus, we ask all of this and we thank you for this. And everyone together said, amen.
Thank you, Pastor. I'm going to take you through a journey real quickly, leading up to presentations from Dr. Kahn, presentations by Dr. Brent Rochon, and our Achievement Award to the LHC group. So guys, let's start off real quickly. This is a community club. Who are we? Here's our board of directors. David Abraham. David here in town. David's with the Law Center. He's been one of the board of directors. Again, we're a nonprofit. David has a dermatologic problem to this time. I ask everybody to say a prayer for him. He's doing well, but it's a chronic problem. He's with us, not with us tonight. He's been at every one of our events. Keith Gishbaugh, our board of directors. Keith here, construction in town, one of the real supporters. Keith, thank you for all you've done. You are with us, and thank you. Jared Leger, another board member. Jared is from Arise Vascular, which is a vascular company out of Texas. He is one of our board of directors. He's not here right now. Here's part of the reason. You guys need to know this club has been reproduced. We now have 6 clubs, okay, in 4 other states. Jared could not be here tonight. He was on a plane. They had to get canceled because of the weather. He had 7 physicians from Texas to come. His table is empty. Jared is one of our board of directors. So this club that we have started now, just 27 months ago, is catching on. So what is this club? Guys, this is a community club, and we are a nonprofit. This is a 501c3 club. Community healthcare awareness, not just CLI. Now, I started this because this word CLI means a lack of blood flow. That's what we do. We started that way. We started that way because Louisiana ranks number 1 or number 2 in amputation and many other cardiovascular problems. We started out with that. On our first dinner was February 21st, 2019. Myself, Dr. Tram, a surgeon from Texas, Dr. Noriega, Dr. Pat Lola, 27 months ago, started out small with 100 attendees. This is our 12th event, 27 months ago. Quickly, the first couple of months, we developed our stuff very rapidly. We diversified our lectures. We moved on from just the original stuff, and we started our Lifetime Achievement Award winners. Our first, the legendary Max Lamarche. Dr. Lamarche is here tonight. He was our first Achievement Award winner. He is the godfather of education in this particular area. Simultaneously, every good man's got a good woman. Marsha Lamarche. So much in charity work. So many things she did with organizations, including helping Pastor Jacob get started all those years ago. Simultaneously at that time, we honored Chris Hebert, master technician. There's only 2 or 3 people probably in the world, and Chris is here also, who's done as many cases as him and has trained physicians through the years. A real legend. These are who we started off with. All of a sudden, we're at 450 attendees. Next couple of months, we moved over to UL, where we are now. We diversified more. We brought in the father of podiatry. We started getting more and more speakers to come. And at that time, our Achievement Award winner was Dr. Ernest Kinchin, an absolute trailblazer. He is here tonight also. Over 50 years, he broke many, many barriers. This is Dr. Harkless, was the father of podiatry, a legend across the country. He still practices today. Dr. Kinchin and his beautiful wife, there's his award. At that time, we also honored the VA system. We had a great VA audience at that time. Dr. Kinchin ended up his career at the VA. For you guys who know me, my dad's alive at 95 years old, a WW2 veteran. So to all the veterans, we will honor you again. 2019, one of the greatest of these events where we honored Dr. Ray Audemont. Dr. Audemont, the legendary president for this university for 34 years. He passed away not too long after that. The impact on our community from economics to social, all of this, multi-generational. So we honored Dr. Ray Audemont. It was a wonderful, wonderful event. This is his beautiful family. We now had up to 600 attendees, and we were in this room, and that was our club. AOC began to film all of those at that time, too. We went on later in the fall, and we stayed at ULL. We honored the nursing, the research, and the economic impact that all of this has in our area. Let's face it, our number one employer is now healthcare in our area. And so all the legendary things from Dr. Audemont on, we talked about rural health care needs with Dustin Miller, one of our congressmen, and that was a very good program. And at that time, we awarded Dr. Gail Poirier, the dean of the nursing school for so many years. Dr. Poirier is here also. She put ULL nursing on the map, without a question. And everything that we do in our facilities, even the LHC group, everyone, a lot of this goes right back to what the university has done. We recognize that. Here's our events. You'll also see Dr. Ramesh Kalera there. We had a presentation on the great research that has been done. Dr. Ramesh and his group, the research at ULL, again, nationwide, doing things just in this university that was not done just 10, 12 years ago. So we continued on up to 600 attendees. November, last of the events of that year, we honored our beloved Red Laurel. Everybody knows Red Laurel and all he's done here in this community. And Mr. America, matter of fact, I dressed like him that night, and he wouldn't let me work there. He doesn't think I'm fit enough yet. This is Red Laurel. You can see the night we presented to him, his great family. 2019, we had almost 6,000 who attended these dinners. So that is what we did that first year. Nobody knew about COVID. We were cruising along at that particular time. And this was Red's. We had 600 at that particular time. The year turned, January 2020, we investigated and we honored philanthropy in this town. And we recognized all the great work Dr. Kip Schumacher has done and what he did in healthcare. He changed healthcare. Dr. Kip Schumacher is here. Kip, thank you for all you've done. Changed healthcare from the standpoint that they still manage over 400 hospitals. And that time sequence was very close to the LHC group, going back to the origins in the same particular area in the same generations. And the things that they've done from the standpoint of the work that both he and his wife have done, and then the Schumacher Foundation, thank you guys for all that you've done. This was our last, to be honest with you, meeting, because then in March we had to address COVID. What did we do? What did the club do? The whole community did a lot, and the club did this. I'm going to show you what we did because we had to pivot. We didn't have the ability to do this. So we took on what we needed, and that was community service. The club, and you all are members of this club, we went into what's needed in the community. We needed testing. We needed relief funding. We needed education. We created task force. We created the textbooks, which we will get into and is in your possession now. Please, guys, take home with you the bag that we've got for you there. It has information on the club. It has the CV textbook, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that. We did more with ULL Nursing. This was the club's focus, nonprofit, for 15 months until we can come back now. So what do we do with COVID testing? We were one of the first to do no-cost COVID testing for the community. When I say no cost, that meant to the person getting the test. We naturally had to fund it, and a lot of the people here helped fund that. So at the very beginning, things were hectic. Nobody knew what to do. So we took on that testing as a club. We focused on ethnic, minority groups, disparities. We offered this at several centers, several doctors' offices. We developed this approach. You guys may have seen this. We then went into the Hispanic community, continued Hispanic community. The club itself, we're counting about 25,000 people that everybody here actually tested through our club, many more when you consider everybody else. This is what we did in the testing. This is some of the testing that we did. These are some of our sites. Again, this is the club. This is what we felt needed to be done. We worked with the schools, ULL students. It was a daily thing, COVID testing, when it came out. How scary that was. Then we got mobile. Now this was me at the Holy Ghost Catholic Church in Opelousas right before COVID. I was speaking actually on cardiovascular disparities. And this would be the heart disease that occurs in the minority segments. And I was giving actually a lecture on that. There are some legendary black heart surgeons that most people don't know about. Maybe we'll address that in the future. But 1 month later, we're back there with COVID. So we're testing there. We're testing with the Southwest group, which is the community health care. This is Dodie Lamont. This is Dr. Leon Elliott. We were back and forth, testing, and testing. So we were testing both mobile and on many sites. What about relief funding? We helped raise funds for the masks, PPEs, food, educational material, as did everybody else. This was not just us. Love our community, love our schools, the VOED group, the Acadiana Safe, all of these pitched in. We all worked together. If there's one thing COVID did, it brought this community together, to be honest with you, and I'd like to give everybody a hand who came into this community. We did what we could from our club standpoint. Some other things that we had done. We started some education. Now, we had club disparities before COVID, meaning the cardiovascular disparities that come in our ethnic groups, in our minorities, and Dr. Roshan will address that later. You guys may have seen this. It is actually in your literature now. This is some of the information that we collected and that we began to spread, and then COVID came too. We worked with as many of the groups that we could that had to do with Martin Luther King. You can see the 100 Black American men, or the 100 Black men. We had a local disparities task force. We worked with Pastor Carlos Harvin. Carlos is here. Did a great job for the Lafayette Consolidated Government. Thank you for all you did. Also, Pastor Harvin. We had support. We did PSAs. We have the Ross report. Carol Ross, thank you. KATC TV3, thank you. We did a lot of work. They helped, and also the National Black Nurses Association. All of these people pitched in. What about this textbook? Real quickly, this textbook that we have provided is going to be for families, patients, ethnic minorities, low income. We're going to try to raise funds to get this book to this particular patient. My goal is to get 100,000 of these books in either a hard copy or a digital form out. You can see the book that you have in it at this particular moment. This book was written by primarily Dr. Pat Lola. He was going to describe that, but he's again not with us at this moment, but I will take one quick minute. 15 years ago, he came to me and he said, Dr. Ali, I see you doing these lectures and you're writing these articles. Why don't you write a book? I said, my young partner, I can barely read and write, and those who know me know that to be true. He said, I'll write it. 13 years went by. He started writing that book. I didn't know it. He brought this to me right before the COVID, and he said, here's that book. And we looked at that book, and we made a couple of little changes. We edited it. We added some information, including a chapter on spiritualism, chapter on that had to do with mental, mind, spiritual health. This was written by Dr. Scott Adams. Dr. Scott, thank you very much. Local pastor with Our Savior's Church. And we put a couple of extra chapters, and this included more on exercise, diet, lifestyle. And I'd like to thank Taylor Bio. Taylor, where are you at? Taylor, thank you very much with our club. She took that on. So this ends up being 23 chapters, almost 250 pages of cardiovascular health for patients. This is not a book written for doctors. This is for patients. So please, that's what we would like to do. We want to get this in the hands of as many people as we can through the club, through donations to make that happen. And it's already happening. We've had over 5,000 that we've distributed. There's some information on how you can get involved and how you can help us with that. Here's us in our communities getting them out. Again, more workers getting them out. This is Marshall Gerald Green. Is Marshall here? Where is Gerald? Is he here? I think I see him. Saw him earlier. Thank you very much. He's getting them out. AOC is helping us. We've tried to get a mission to develop this. This is the first $10,000 grant that came to us to deliver 1,000 of these books to rural Louisiana. This is then being delivered up north into the central parishes where we're distributing to patients in low-income clinics. So this is something that we want to work on this year. We worked with local nonprofits, One Acadiana, the school systems, the fitness, Bon Cure, here even United Way. So this club participated and worked with others, and everybody here in each of these clubs did their job. These are some of the people that we worked with, and we're very proud to have worked with them. We joined ULL Nursing for another initiative. We developed a 5-year endowment, a grant. This was for graduate student training. We really enjoy, and we want to continue to facilitate the club and all of our works with ULL. Here's our visit. This was during COVID. We saw the simulation. We saw some of the things. They have set the standard, and I think LHC knows that also, and so we're very happy to continue our work as the club as far as that is concerned with ULL. Guys, I want you to take a notice of this young lady, that beautiful young blonde lady there. You guys know Donna Stansberry? I think everybody knows Donna, as she has been a driver of this club. And I want to take one little second here to let you know Donna Stansberry has just completed 35 years of excellence in nursing. That means she retired on me. Over 30 of those years, Donna was my right-hand man, and many people in this audience know there was nobody better. She was the compassion, the empathy. She was the patience. She did all those things the doctors like ourselves just didn't have the time or should have but couldn't. And so Donna, where are you at, babe? Donna, can you raise up for us, please? There's Donna in the back. Guys, we had a retirement party for her. So there's Donna. So what happens? The first thing she does is she serves Dr. Kitchen his dessert. She continues to work. We had a little fun that night too, but what I can tell you is for 35 years, Donna has been by my side and by our club's side, and I want to thank you for all of those years, and there's so many patients who have benefited. Donna, thank you very much, hon. Guys, one more quick shout out real quick. There is our club. This is Kristen Likens. That's my son Vince. Linda Peters. Linda, what a blessing. I just found out, where is Linda? 30 years ago, when I was doing heart surgery, Linda was a young nurse on the floors. I think she was a teenager back then. So only in the last couple of years have we reconnected. She's now with our club team, and she's doing a lot of this work too. Taylor Bio, thank you, Taylor, for your authorship and all your work. And Madeline Bustani, who's come with us with funding, also a good, strong funding background in this town. She's to help the club. This happens because of these people. Thank you to our club members, to our club employees. Last special thanks, Dr. Tina Stefanski from the Office of Public Health, Carlos Harvin, Dodie Lamont, Polly. These are the people who helped us do our testing, helped us from that standpoint. Dr. Leon Elliott, Dr. Kip Schumacher, and Ryan. You guys, again, thank you from Love Our Community, the Schumacher Foundation. Iris Malone. Is Iris here in the group? Iris in the group back there. From the Association of Black Nurses, they were always there. Scotty and Valerie Broussard from Premier Lab. Guys, I don't know if you know who Premier Lab is, but they came to the plate every time we needed testing, never asked for a cent. They are godsends, and they're great people. Scotty just had shoulder surgery. He'd be here tonight. They were a big part of all this. Pastor Jacob Aranza, Our Savior's Church, also with Love Our Community. He brought me 500 masks one day. I used them. I called him. I said, I ran out. He brought me 500 the next day. So the point is we had so many people in the community helping. Cardi with United Way, Second Harvest. Again, Marshall, Gerald Green, legendary work up in Opelousas. And this group helped us with a lot of volunteers. So we did our part from the club, but so did the entire community. And I think that's the message that I want to get everybody's attention on tonight. And we want to continue these same sort of activities. So we talked a little bit about the Club Achievement Award in the past. So we've honored doctors, presidents, physicians, Mr. Americas, master technicians, trailblazers, doctors, lawyers, Indian chiefs, entrepreneurs, philanthropists. We're going to honor somebody different this time. I want to welcome our Lifetime Achievement Award to a family. To a family. That family is the LHC Group, one cause, one family. I'd like to give a big hand to the LHC Group.
Know that we are all equally important, and know that at LHC Group, it's all about helping people. Welcome to our family.
Well, living in a small community of Palmetto, Louisiana, everybody knew each other. The 4 patients that we first started with, they knew I was the only little nurse in town, so they called me. They saw me in the white uniform, and I spilled my pills. I don't know what to do. I'm feeling short of breath. Just simple things. And those patients just needed a visit, and so I'd gladly go. Sure enough, those 4 patients just became people that I couldn't stop thinking about. You check on them in the day, or, they just became part of us. We wanted to take care of them. It was all about what can we do, and the home health industry was something that was thought about, so that was the venture we started to take.
So our first joint venture partnership was with Opelousas General Hospital. In 4 years, Ginger and her team of nurses had built a home health agency that had earned the lion's share of the business. In the market, Opelousas General Hospital had a home health agency, and they were thinking about closing the agency down. We didn't think of that as an opportunity. We thought of it as a loss for the community. Proactively, we reached out to the hospital and said, what about if we combine the 2 home health agencies and become partners?
That home health was known so well in the community as the hospital was. And they did a beautiful job with what they could. It was like, why should that go away? We can do this together.
It's another way to execute on our strategy and our belief that all healthcare is local. So to carry the brand of the local hospital is a huge honor for us. Those 4 first patients that we cared for, we were called to action because of an obligation we felt to give back to a generation before us and to care for them. But I always try, still every day, to anchor our culture back to that first day that Ginger went to see that first patient at her home before she drove to work.
I'm most proud of how many people that LHC group can reach out to and really make a difference. In the elderly or in the hospice patients, we can actually make the final years of people's lives the finest years of their life.
Guys, this is my tribute to LHC Group. They were founded in 1994, single home health agency with a mission to serve the neediest and the most vulnerable members of their community. Guys, I knew these before 1994. Those first 4 patients, I can tell you, Dr. Kahn sent them their 5th patient. When all of that was happening, we were a part of that in that particular time and in that era, and home health was so new at that particular time. 1994. Palmetto, small little community. What a big deal to come out of Palmetto and to have the 2nd or 3rd largest home health in the entire country. What a big deal. There's those first 4 patients. A couple years later, some of you might recognize this. This was 1999. This is Keith and Ginger, and what great people they are. That's Keith and Ginger at one of our conferences back then. This was one of the early sort of things that they would do at various events. You can see right there, all about helping people. Guys, this was Dr. Mo Kahn, this was Keith Myers and myself 22 years ago at a conference. So it's not a secret why Dr. Mo Kahn is here. He worked with Keith and Ginger, and he was a part of all of that growth, and so we will welcome Mo in just a bit. Today, LHC is the in-home healthcare partner for 350 leading hospitals across the country. 350 hospitals. They have over 3,200 employees, and I think that they got more. Excuse me. And I think they operate in 35 states, and they reach over 60% of the U.S. population over 65 years of age. And that's right out of almost Palmetto. There's LHC today. Purpose. It's all about helping people. Pretty darn simple. Pretty good business. Pretty good if you can do it. And they have done it. Mission. To provide exceptional care and unparalleled service to patients and families who have placed their trust in us. Foundation. Foundation, family. Foundation. There's the guys at this moment. They're growing that vision to improve the quality of life in the United States by transforming the delivery of healthcare services. My friends, they have certainly succeeded in that. They have really changed the way healthcare, whether it be local, whether it be national, whether it be in Washington. I'm honored that they're in our community and that I know these people and I know this group. Their operating philosophy. This is 27 years. People, service, quality, efficiency, growth, and excellence. Pretty good formula. And it sure has worked for this family group. There you go, guys, for those first 4 patients, and I think I knew some of them. There they are, continuing to build, continuing to grow. And today, half of their home health locations, that's 321, over half of them, are named among the nation's best. And this is the standard in their industry, the 2019 Home Care Elite Group. The top rank of both quality and patient satisfaction. Now this is from the government. That's the big boys right there. That's the Centers of Medicare and Medicaid, that's CMS. They have changed healthcare. They've changed the standard, quite honestly. And I happen to have seen healthcare and home health for 40 years. And I've seen it, I've witnessed it, I've felt it. There was no home health care before heart surgery. There was no need. Matter of fact, the explosion of heart surgery was one of the reasons there became home health, and we were all a part of that. LHC has 100% joint commission accreditation. National average, 15%. What's that telling you? They're doing the right thing. Philanthropy, we talked about philanthropy. My goodness, they provide significant support each year for charitable organizations that align with their healthcare missions. I could fill that page up with the things that they have done for everybody in this particular community. You can pick out which one of those that you would like. I would like to certainly note their last large contribution to ULL. What an investment for them. What an investment for me. I need nurses. I need the best. The university needs to train them. They recognize that. You can see SLCC on there also, hospice. All of these things are things that they have done. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to ask some representatives of the LHC group to come up to say a few words, and then we will go ahead with the honor of the presentation. So if I could have Stacy Boudreau-Grow, she's the Director of Marketing, and Spencer Thibodeau, Regional Vice President of Operations for the group, to come on up. You've got the podium, LHC group. Thank you, guys.
Hi, everybody. How's everyone doing? Hello. So, Dr. Ali, thank you so much. And thanks to everyone at CLI and Limb Salvage for this recognition and for organizing tonight's wonderful event. It's so nice to be back in person. I'm honored to be here tonight, along with Spencer and many of my colleagues at LHC Group, and of course with all of you. We have representatives from our home office agencies and our local agencies out of Lafayette region here tonight with us. And I'm really, really humbled to be here representing LHC Group, especially after the wonderful things that Dr. Ali just shared with all of you. Most of you here have probably worked with or crossed paths with Keith and Ginger. If you have had that privilege, you're aware of their humble nature, so humble that they've sent me in their stead this evening, and their strong, strong belief that all healthcare is local. They have worked diligently to ensure that this sentiment remains ingrained in LHC Group's culture and mission, and I see it every day at our home office in Lafayette. As you saw in the video, LHC Group was born right here down the road in Acadiana in Palmetto, Louisiana, and our clear mission back then, almost 30 years ago, was to provide vital healthcare services to a few friends and neighbors who did not have access to the health care that Keith and Ginger believed they deserved. And today, that same mission is represented not just here in Acadiana, but through 800 communities in 35 states and the District of Columbia, represented by 483 individual local brands. So we've definitely stayed true to our roots, and we still believe that all healthcare is local. Keith and Ginger would at this point definitely remind us all that what we do every day as healthcare professionals boils down to one very simple phrase: it's all about helping people. It's a privilege for everyone at LHC Group, be it a nurse, a therapist, an office manager, an operations or sales leader, or the support team at our home office, to help others alongside you all. So thank you so much for this wonderful, great honor, and for doing the most important job of helping people every day right here in Acadiana. And now I'm pleased to introduce my friend and colleague and one of our longtime local leaders, Spencer Thibodeau.
Thank you, Stacy. Good evening. I would like to also thank Dr. Ali and the wonderful people of CLI and Limb Salvage. This recognition is a genuine honor, and I feel privileged to be part of tonight's event. I want to recognize and thank our healthcare provider colleagues here tonight. It is a privilege to work with each one of you in helping to improve health and quality of life for our beloved Acadiana region. As healthcare professionals, we are caretakers of health and well-being of the communities we serve. It's a tremendous responsibility. We embrace that responsibility, and I know each one of you do as well. Healthcare is a vital part of our infrastructure, and LHC Group looks forward to working together to secure and enhance access to healthcare services for future generations. Thank you once again.
Presentation, okay? Told you I couldn't read. Okay. So guys, with a little fumble here, certainly we want to welcome again the Lifetime Achievement Award, and this is for family, community, family, and service. It's all about helping people. It's the Louisiana Healthcare Group. Guys, please stand. I would like to have our photo people come up, please. We want to make a presentation, take some pictures right here. Guys, food is being served. We're going to take a minute for pictures, and then we're going to come on with some great speaks. Thank you very much.
best, guys, and take a couple of different pictures. Come on, guys. All right, my dear. How about it? All right, we'll see how good you guys are.
My brother going to call you up in a second, huh? So guys, the heart healthy meal is coming. And we're about ready to get into the heart of the matter. So ladies and gentlemen, the continuation of the program, I want to introduce Dr. Kahn from Redding, California at the moment. How many people here, guys, in the audience know Dr. Kahn from the past? You should know Dr. Kahn from the past. I personally came into Lafayette in 1989-1990 from Houma. Dr. Kahn was a resident, which means he was training in Houma when I came over to this area to help to create a new program. I brought Dr. Kahn with me. In the early 1990s, guys, please sit. Dr. Kahn came and to join us in Lafayette, and so he practiced with me in Lafayette and in Opelousas for a 16-year period of time. And that period of time included before Schumacher Group, that included before LHC. As a matter of fact, I know he sent him the 5th patient. And so Dr. Kahn was one of the legendary physicians in this area for over 16 years. He went to California, and he has grown his practice there, and he's came back to speak to us today. Potentially one of the greatest physicians I've ever seen, human beings, no question about it, talented, interventional cardiologist who was on the forefront of treating peripheral vascular disease, trained people, has spoken internationally. He reminded me I came and spoke at his place 14 years ago. I'm going to visit him again because I understand he's built a very great program in Redding, California. So the heart of the matter, this will be Dr. Muhammad Kahn. Thank you very much, Dr. Kahn. The audience is yours.
Pull up your slide.
Okay.
Good evening, everybody. I'm excited, I'm thrilled, I'm happy, I'm ecstatic, I'm nervous, and I'm privileged and honored and blessed to be amongst all of you. I have such great memories, coming out of training. I spent a large period of my life here with all of you, and I was treated with such tremendous dignity and respect and collegial fellowship. So I'm truly honored and blessed. I'm honored to be invited, Dr. Ali. Thank you for having me. I have such terrific memories, and I'm overwhelmed, and you inspire me by what you're doing for our community. I want to extend my thanks, my heartfelt thanks to all the Achievement Award winners and to Keith and Ginger and the LHC group. When I left Opelousas 16 years ago, Keith and Ginger came to the office and presented me with an appreciation award. And this was when I was leaving. They had no interest, nothing to gain, but they came by and for maybe the little that I may have done or contributed. So this is, I'm so happy to be here for them, convey my best to Keith and Ginger, and thank you for what you're doing for making the lives of people better. Now, Dr. Ali is one of the most persistent individuals I have met. He did not let up until I got here. He is also one of the smartest people I met. You know, we did several live television programs together, and the reason I did them is because I knew that I would never be stumped with a question. He had an answer for everything. He's also one of the kindest human beings you will meet. I have many, many stories that I can share about patients, but just, you know, one day I needed some help and I went up to Dr. Ali and I said, Dave, I need some money. He said, how much do you need? I said, $10,000. He said, he took out his checkbook, wrote me a check, and he said, you sure that's enough? And I said, yes. A few months later, I went to return the check, and he didn't know why I was giving him a check. He had forgotten about it. That's the kind of individual he is. Thank you, Dave. I love you, and I'm here for you. Thank you because of you.
I think that check was $100,000.
Now, he asked me to speak about the heart of the matter, and to me, hypertension has always been the heart of the matter. And I think hypertension should be a subject of specialty in and of itself. But all physicians feel their specialty is just as important, and all specialties are important, just like all the different organs of the body are important. So one day the organs decided to sit down and have a debate about who is the boss of the body. We all run amok, everybody wants to do their own things, and they had a debate. And the brain said, listen, I should be the boss of the body, because if I'm brain dead, they tell the family, pull the plug. He's brain dead. The eyes said, I should be the boss of the body. Can you imagine being born without being, no matter how it's described to you, you still cannot appreciate what you see and feel. I should be the boss of the body. The stomach says, you know, we live to eat. We go on trips. We think about restaurants to go to. What's the point of living if you can't enjoy a good meal? I should be the boss of the body. And the heart said, listen, you know, if I go fast, everybody gets nervous. If I go slow, everybody gets nervous. If I don't tick, nobody works. I should be the boss. And finally, it was the turn of the rectum. And when the rectum stood up to speak, all the organs had a good laugh, and the rectum got pissed off and decided to close up. After a week, the stomach was hurting. After 2 weeks, the heart's racing. After 3 weeks, the eyes are crossing. After 4 weeks, he's foggy, the brain's foggy, and they all went to the rectum and said, listen, please open up. You can be the boss of the body. The moral of the story for all you bosses out there is that you don't have to be the brains to be the boss, just an asshole. Now, Sir Richard Dole said, death is inevitable, but premature death is not. we can all live younger, longer. And you've all heard about the different risk factors, lose weight, exercise, diet. We all know that. But I wanted to touch upon a few things that I found interesting that I hope you will find interesting as well. Because when you Google risk calculator and you want to know your cardiovascular risk, you put in some numbers, it gives you your risk. But believe it or not, these risk factors predict more accurately who is going to develop cancer and who is going to develop Alzheimer's beside cardiovascular disease. So I'll focus on blood pressure because that's the heart of the matter, but I'll touch upon a few things as well. Now, why do I feel blood pressure should be a specialty in and of itself? Because it is the #1 health issue in America. It is the single most common condition for which a patient goes to see a physician. I'll repeat that. The single most common condition for which patients go to see a physician. It is the most common chronic illness in the world. Time magazine in 2004 said America's high blood pressure crisis is spinning out of control. That was 2004. And between 2013 and 2018, Americans with controlled blood pressure dropped by 11%. So clearly we have a problem. Every 26 seconds, somebody suffers a cardiac event. Every 30 seconds, somebody is hospitalized with heart failure. Every 40 seconds, somebody suffers from a stroke. Every 4 minutes, somebody dies from a stroke. Every minute, somebody dies from hypertension that is either the principal cause or a contributing factor. So clearly, we have an unmet need. Only 1 out of 4 Americans, only 24% of our patients have their blood pressure controlled. So what is a normal blood pressure? A normal blood pressure is less than 120 and less than 80. That's normal. If your blood pressure is between 120 and 129, it is elevated. It's not normal. And if you're high risk, even when it's elevated, it needs to be treated. A blood pressure of more than 130, if you have a high blood pressure more than 130 on 2 or more occasions, on 2 separate settings, you have the diagnosis of hypertension. The takeaway point on high blood pressure is that you need to monitor your blood pressure. It is very important that you monitor your blood pressure. If you're 50 years of age, you have a 50% chance of developing hypertension. If you're 60, 60% chance. If you're 70, 70% chance. If you're 80, 80% chance. 90% of us are going to develop high blood pressure, 9 out of 10. So it is important that you monitor your blood pressure because it is the silent killer. Home readings are better than office readings. Now, while we have only 1 in 4 Americans have their blood pressure controlled, it is amazing that 1/3 of elderly patients are overtreated. They go into the doctor's office, the blood pressure is high, the medication is increased, they go home, they get dizzy, hypotensive, they fall, break a hip, and so forth. So it is important that home readings are more reliable than office readings. Check your blood pressure in both arms. Follow the blood pressure in the higher arm. The best time to check your blood pressure is in the morning. Most heart attacks and strokes occur in the morning. When you check your blood pressure, both feet on the ground, nice and relaxed, before you have coffee. If you have coffee, you got to wait at least an hour. And if it's high, you can wait 10, 15 minutes, check it, and take the average. But that's the accurate way, not in a doctor's office. You're rushing in, the nurse is talking to you while taking the blood pressure, your legs are dangling on the examination table. That's not accurate blood pressure reading. And the best time to take your blood pressure medication is in the evening or bedtime. Most physicians don't tell their patients this. unless it's a diuretic. If you take your antihypertensive agent at night or bedtime, you can reduce your risk of a heart attack and stroke an additional 12%. This is huge, because when we go to sleep, our blood pressure should drop. It should dip about 25%. And patients who have high blood pressure, it doesn't dip. That's the highest risk of a heart attack and stroke. So if you take your blood pressure pill at night, it starts working in about 2 hours and peaks at 4 to 6 hours and will lower the blood pressure and simulate that normal physiologic way of having the blood pressure dip at night or bedtime. The commonest reason that predisposes you to having high blood pressure is overweight, and the commonest reason, if your blood pressure is not easy to control, is alcohol use. So I want to touch on some of the other risk factors real quick. Aspirin has always fascinated me. Believe it or not, it's mentioned 3,000 years ago in the papyrus in Egypt about the bark of the willow tree, which was being used for fever. That's where we get aspirin from. In 1902, Bayer Aspirin patented aspirin. 2 years later, they shelved it. They said there's no market value to aspirin. But the real reason was they were coming out with a drug that they said had huge market potential, especially to suppress cough, called heroin. The trials of all of the aspirin trials started in 1974, so we only started using aspirin after 1974 for cardiovascular protection. But the real hero was Dr. Craven in 1948 in Glendale, California. He was giving children chewing gum that had aspirin, and he noticed that these kids, their gums would bleed. And he realized that this thing could prevent heart attacks and strokes. And he published his data, 8,000 patients, in the Mississippi Valley Journal in 1956. Nobody listened to him. He died in 1957 of a heart attack. I don't know if he was taking aspirin. But this is what he said. He said this 1948, almost 80 years ago, before we even knew anything about aspirin. He said, for men between the ages of 45 and 65, particularly those who are overweight and sedentary, if you look at the 2020 guidelines, it says men between 40 and 70. Look at how close he was 80 years ago, and only for high-risk individuals. So aspirin can reduce your risk of a heart attack 20%. But we only want to give it to appropriate patients. You do not give it to healthy patients. You only give it to high-risk patients. And do not use coated aspirin. Patients tell you coated aspirin doesn't bother me. Sure it doesn't, because it's not absorbed. If it doesn't get absorbed, it's not going to bother you. So do not use coated aspirin, and there's no need to use more than 81 milligrams of aspirin. And again, the best time to take your blood pressure pill is at night or bedtime. The best time to take your aspirin is at night or bedtime, and the best time to take your cholesterol medication is at night or bedtime as well. What about cholesterol? You know, when patients come to me and they tell me what their friends on the internet says about cholesterol, you know, memory issues, muscle pain, etc., diabetes, I have 3 things to tell those patients. I take this mug with me in every examination room. And I said, number 1, don't confuse your Google with my medical degree. Number 2, I tell them the only real side effect to aspirin is you will live longer. And number 3, if you want to lower your cholesterol naturally, then eat anything without a face. Cigarettes. Cholesterol and cigarettes are the number 1 and the number 2 risk factors. They make up 66% of all heart attacks. And it's tough for all patients to quit smoking, but we have to find ways of motivating them. We did a program on cigarette cessation, Dr. Ali and myself. And about 5 or 6 months after that, I was walking in the corridor at Opelousas General Hospital, and a patient called out my name. I walked into the room. She said, "I've never met you, but I watched that program, and I quit cigarette smoking that night." I have a 99-year-old patient and her son in the 70s, both my patients. So one day I told her, I said, "Don't you get on his case for not quitting smoking?" She said, "I've been telling him for 90 years. And she was hard of hearing, and I turned to him and I said, "Listen, she's going to be 100. Why don't you tell her on her birthday, quit on her birthday, give her a birthday wish." And I said, even if you lied to her, just make her happy, tell her you quit. A few months later, she died. He came back, he told me he gave her that birthday, and he did not resume smoking, one of the nicest things he could have done. I was on the golf course one day. A guy came up to me and he told me, 10 years ago you saw me and you told me, quit on your son's birthday. His son was 1, just born. I said, "Quit on your son's birthday." He said, he came up to me to tell me, he said, "You won't remember me, but I quit on my son's birthday." So we have to find ways of motivating them, because if you motivate them, they're more likely to do it, they're more likely not to resume, and that son is more likely not to smoke as well. So we can try to make it special. What about diet? We all know about dieting, but it is the #1 cause of early death and disease in the United States. This is an important study because this study was done in patients over 60. This was our age group, Dr. Ali. Over 2,000 patients. They said, "Can diet make a difference?" The seniors and RECA study, giving them more and more Mediterranean. And look at the last line there. It decreased the deficit accumulation index by 0.74. In other words, you live 12 months longer, but you only age 9 months. This was done by testing memory and functional capacity and walking. So even at this age, and 60 doesn't seem that elderly anymore to me, we can continue to live younger, longer. Exercise. HIIT is no longer a fad. High-intensity interval training for those that love to go to the gym and those like myself that don't, this is the way to go. HIIT involves high-intensity training, whether it's a bicycle, sprinting, climbing upstairs, jump rope, whatever it is. You go hard for 30 seconds only. You go hard for 30 seconds, and then you calm down, alternate that with 4 or 5 minutes of just taking it easy, 4 or 5 minutes. That completes one cycle. And then you go another cycle, and you go 6 to 10 cycles, 10 minutes to 30 minutes. Believe it or not, in this small study here, you can see that patients exercised for 11 minutes 3 times a week, compared to 45 minutes of moderate intensity 3 times a week. 90% less exercise time. But your HDL went up more, you lost more weight, your metabolic rate went up more, and there was less boredom, and you feel better. You get twice the benefit, twice with HIIT exercise than with moderate intensity exercise. And exercise will reduce almost every cancer. Fitness beats fatness. There are multiple studies that show that if you are overweight and active, you will have less heart attacks and strokes than being underweight or normal and not active. In fact, a normal or a low BMI, if they're not active or fit, has the highest risk. So be active. What about foods? You know, my daughter used to love to eat frozen grapes. So one day after a few weeks, she pulled it out of the refrigerator and started Googling, is this still good? And she brought this to my attention. I couldn't believe it after researching it. Fresh fruits and vegetables retain their cellular integrity. They cost 3 times less, and they're 3 times more nutritious than when you eat fresh fruits and vegetables. So fresh frozen fruits and vegetables is the way to go. Genes, It's not that diabetes, heart disease, and obesity runs in your family. It's that nobody runs in your family. Genes can increase your heart attack 40%, but bad lifestyle increases your risk 400%. I'll skip this one in the interest of time, and I want to talk about, now, when I speak to healthcare professionals or healthcare providers, then heart of the matter is hypertension to me. But when I speak to an audience that have women and wives and others that are not in the medical field, then the heart of the matter to me are our mothers and you women. My mother was married at the age of 16 from a little village, divorced at 26 with 3 children, worked for pennies in South Africa, went to a Stanford facility in California at the age of 52 for open heart surgery and didn't make it out of the operating room. She was a single mom since the age of 26. So heart disease in women is very dear to my heart, and I think it truly is the heart of the matter. Having said that, you know, we guys in the cath lab, we still talk about you women about the hard times you give us. In fact, this Sunday, believe it or not, I was putting in a stent on a patient who was having a heart attack. And he moaned, and I thought he was having pain. So I asked him, "Are you having pain?" He said, "Pain? This is not pain." I said, "No." He said, "Do you want to know what's pain, doc?" I said, "What's pain?" He says, "Pain is living 1 block away from your mother-in-law." That's a true story. I also have 24-inch television screens in each of my examination room, and I show pictures of National Geographic while patients are waiting for me. They enjoy those photographs. And one of the slides says, "If you have a joke, share it with me." And a patient in her 80s came up and she tells me, she says, this little boy went to his dad and asked his dad, he said, "Dad, where did we come from?" His dad says, "We came from upstairs." His mom was a science teacher, went to his mom, he said, "Mom, where did we come from?" His mom says, "We came from monkeys." So he went back to his dad. He said, "Dad, you lied to me. You said we came from upstairs. Mom said we came from monkeys." He says, "I didn't lie to you. That's from her side of the family." But it truly is about you. Women, you know, whatever you give a woman, she will make greater. You give her a house, she'll turn it into a home. You give her some groceries, she'll turn it into a meal. You give her a smile, she will give you her heart. You give her a sperm, and she'll turn it into a baby. But if you give her any crap, be prepared for a shitload back. But women can do anything men can do. In fact, women can even do it better than men, like dying from a heart attack and stroke. Women have larger heart attacks, women are more likely to have second heart attacks, and women are more likely to have more fatal heart attacks. So heart disease in women is true. Now why? In a survey of women, they asked them for their top 6 priorities. Number 1 is children. And it's true, women worry about their children even after they're dead. Several years ago, my wife told me, this is true, she told me, she says, "You know, we got to get our affairs in order, we got to get our will, we got to get the living trust." And I told her, I said, "Why are you worried? If I die, everything is yours." She said, "I'm not worried if you die. I'm worried if I die. I don't want some gold digger coming and taking my children's inheritance." That's how they think. Their second priority, their home. The third priority, their workplace. The fourth priority, their pets. The fifth priority, their spouses. We come after the dogs, Dave.
I know.
And lastly, themselves. Women care about everybody before they care about themselves. Now, it is impossible, and I'm glad that I see what Dr. Ali and Dr. Patlola are doing in the community here. It's difficult sometimes to measure the impact and measure and imagine the difference that you're making to the community in over a long period of time. We can get a small sample and a measure from the Go Red campaign in women. And again, I say this because it's very close to my heart. Imagine the difference you're making, Dr. Ali, in your community. Thank you very much.
Now you see why I was persistent. Let's stand up for Mo Kahn. Now I'll get you to give me the real answer for women, because I've not figured that out, Mo. Guys, thank you very much for allowing Mo to come and share some of his thoughts. I knew exactly what he was going to say till he got to that beautiful song at the end. That's wonderful. I've not heard that, Mo. We're going to end up with a very important presentation by Dr. Brent Rochon. Dr. Rochon, in our community, cardiologist for over 10 years, very active in many of the functions here in town, also SLCC and many other cardiovascular initiatives having to do with ethnic background, having to do with minorities. I know he's put a lot of time and work, and we've done programs before. I'm going to let him now address the cardiovascular disparities in the minority population, focusing on things that have been there for many, many years, and hopefully we can make some change in our community. Dr. Brent Roshaw.
You can use spacebar, or you can do the arrow.
Good evening. I'm Brent Rochon. I'm a cardiologist born and raised here in Lafayette. I met Dr. Kahn when I was a medical student, also an internist when I was practicing with Dr. Mwatibo and Dr. Stevens, and also referring to him as well as Dr. Ali, and then I went back and pursued my cardiovascular training. You're one of the reasons I'm here, as are you. And that also brings to why I'm also back here. It's because of healthcare in my community and the change with evidence-based medicine, specifically ethnic and minorities, and my local Louisianans, Cajuns, Creoles, blacks, whites, Asians, non-Hispanics, Hispanics. Cardiovascular disease, as you can see, ethnic minorities and cardiovascular disparities are big in this community. What is a healthcare disparity? The CDC defines this as a preventable difference in the burden of disease, injury, violence, or opportunities to achieve optimal health that are experienced by socially disadvantaged populations. Healthcare disparities are driven by social and economic inequalities. Economic stability, employment, income, expenses, debt, medical bills, support, neighborhood and physical development, housing, transportation, parks, playgrounds, walkability, zip code, geography, education, literacy, language, early childhood education, vocal training, higher education, food security, access to healthy eating options, community safety and social context, social integration, support systems, community engagement, stress, exposure to violence and trauma, policing, justice policing, healthcare systems, health coverage, provider and pharmacy availability, access to linguistically and culturally appropriate and respectful care, and quality of care. This leads to better health and well-being. If you have more access to these things, you're healthier. This decreases morbidity, mortality, life, and increases life expectancy, healthcare expenditures, health status, and functional limitations. In the Lafayette area, the demographics, like what's Lafayette built of? It's 66% white, 26% African American, 5% Hispanic, and 2% Asian or Pacific Islander. And heart disease is the leading cause of death in this hospital catchment areas. Heart disease mortality rates are higher in the area across all genders and races when compared to the rest of Louisiana. In a community-based survey, nearly 50% of respondents perceive that heart disease has been getting worse in the community over time. Once again, it's the leading cause of death in the United States. Risk factors include, as Dr. Kahn eloquently described to you guys, was high blood pressure is the #1 risk factor for cardiovascular disease. High cholesterol, diabetes, physical inactivity, smoking, obesity, but race and ethnicity? Why would that be increasing our risk factor? I'm gonna have many kind of busy slides, but in taking your time into consideration, I'll just break it down. And most of them will be pretty simple, and it's gonna drive home a pretty sobering effect. And I know we were having a good time and laughing, but this is some hard, real stuff. The top line is African Americans, followed by white, non-Hispanic, Hispanic, and Asians, or Pacific Islander. Non-Hispanic black patients are twice as likely than non-Hispanics, Asians, whites, Pacific Islanders to die of heart disease. Prevalence. Prevalence means who has the disease, how many people? 11.5% whites, 9.5% blacks, 7.4% Hispanic adults, and 6% non-Hispanic Asian adults. In the heart hospital, some data was achieved, and we can see the populations that were tested by the pie graph, but once again, we're gonna make this very simple. The higher bars on the left are whites, the lower bars are blacks. These are ones that were treated with percutaneous coronary intervention. What does that mean? Fixing somebody's heart. Nationally, white males had a percentage of 8.28. Locally, that's 9.63 who were fixed. Nationally, non-whites, the average is 6.10%. Locally, is 7.67. That's almost 2% less. White females, 5.23% nationally versus 4.65% nationally for non-white females. And locally, white females were fixed 6.14% versus 6.12%. At Lafayette General Medical Center, I'm not going to go through all the numbers this time, but you can see once again on the bottom right-hand corner, the higher, farthest to the right, the highest bar graph is whites, the second is blacks, then it's white females, and then black females, or non-white persons. And you can see a significant trend that for some reason, people of different ethnicity, race, color, creed are treated differently, or with a less of a treatment modality that is readily available at all times. Once again, Our Lady of Lourdes, same phenomenon that we can see here. And it's why would race and ethnicity be a difference in increasing the prevalence of heart disease? Nationally, is once again 8.28% versus 6.1%, and locally it was 9.63% in white males, and blacks 7.67% treated with PCI, almost a 2% difference. We see the same trend, but once again it's closer when it comes to white females. Peripheral arterial disease. On the picture on the left, you can see a leg that's been fixed. On the right was before, where the superficial femoral artery was fixed. It's more common in blacks than any other racial ethnic group because of higher rates of diabetes and high blood pressure. We have a higher incidence of asymptomatic peripheral arterial disease, putting us at increased risk in delays of care. And blacks are 4 times more likely to have amputations when compared to the white population. Stroke. Stroke is when the brain doesn't get enough blood, doesn't get enough perfusion. That could be from high blood pressure, it could be from an embolism of a clot that's preventing blood flow. It could also be from a blockage that's preventing blood flow from the brain. Once again, we see the trend. It's not on the orange would be blacks, the gray would be Hispanics, and the blue would be white. Less than 70, significantly difference in the people who have stroke, and that would be the African Americans. When greater than 70, we see this trend continue, but it does start to balance out as we get older. Additional disparities. Black adults are 60% more likely to be diagnosed with diabetes by a physician. Black mothers have a 3 times higher maternal mortality and 2 times higher morbidity, which means chronic illnesses. And black and Hispanic communities have lower diagnosis rates of major depression when compared to whites, 31% versus 55%. What do? I think we need to all try to conquer this divide. Number one, we need to increase awareness of disease processes prevalent in the community. Let people know what's out there, educate them on what these diseases are. 2, increase access to healthcare services in underserved populations and communities. 3, decrease the fear and aversion of underserved populations of seeking healthcare. 4, provide access to healthy diet, lifestyle, and exercise program. And I think this is the most important one. And there's a lot of people in here in this meeting in healthcare and ancillary services. And we need to encourage providers, specialists included, to accept all forms of reimbursement, including Medicaid, thus not overwhelming the state-based services and those providers that do accept less profitable insurances. We all need to do our fair share. You know, I'm going to tell you a personal story. My grandmother, my dad's mother was from Rain, and I was a young boy. We went to bring her to the doctor. Brent was getting to go with her to the doctor. And whenever we left, there was a lot of discussion coming home, and I didn't understand what was the issue. And she had Medicare and probably a Medicaid supplement, and the doctor wouldn't see her. And I was like, why wouldn't you see Grandma? She's a nice lady. I love her, and I didn't understand that. And this is a reason, large reason why I'm here and why we at the Louisiana Cardiovascular and Salvage Center treat all patients despite race, color, creed, financial status, insurance. But I will tell you, we offer that service to everyone, but just as we're there, we also have a large staff who we want to take care of. We take all the different insurances and help us help the community. You know, it's kind of, you guys know it. Y'all know who cherry picks and y'all know who does what. I told you this was serious. So I think that it's important that we all do our fair share. And remember this talk was about ethnic diversity and disparities, and it's not about people of different race, color, creed, or ethnicity wanting anything different. It's just wanting to be the same. It's just wanting to have what everyone else has. After all, we're all Louisianans and Americans. Thank you. In your packet, you'll find a detailed pamphlet that'll show you other evidence and statistics regarding disparities in healthcare. This is one of our missions of the Louisiana Cardiovascular and Limb Salvage Club, and it's been a pleasure to be here with you guys. I know we've had a lot of talk. Now let's have some fun. And any questions, we're always available to help. Myself, Dr. Ali, Dr. Palola, and Dr. Kahn while he's here. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand. Please take a little look. Look, read that flyer there. Put that flyer back up. Just put that flyer back up. Read that, if you would, as we close out. So, guys, there's some staggering statistics there. If you can read that, please do. And if not, it's in your folder. Please, I see people sitting, but I don't see them in your hands. Everybody take home the information that you're given, okay? Because there's some information in there I think that is important. You're going to see how you can help the club. You can see how you can continue to help the community. You can see these kind of statistics. I want to thank Dr. Mo Kahn for coming from Redding, California. Back to your hometown, Mo. Thank you. Brent, great job. This is your community. We're all here to help. From the standpoint of everybody in the audience, I think that the desserts have been served. We're right on time. It's about 8 o'clock or so. I want everybody to be careful going home. I want you to pay attention to your emails. Everybody should be in our club. We probably have 4,000 members now. We will be having continued meetings. Our next scheduled is July 15th. We're going to announce exactly what that is. Wanted to make sure we could pull this one off, and I think we did, as I see very few empty seats. I want to thank everybody who came. I want to thank Louisiana Healthcare Group. All of the individual groups that are here that have been brought here for many, many reasons. Please, guys, join us fighting our community. Look and see how you can get involved. Get involved with the distribution of this book. Help us fund. Help us continue to do these things. Thank you, guys. See you July 15th, where we'll announce soon. Thank you all.